planning and replanning, because ideally we want to do everything in the beginning, which we do a big plan generally, especially if we are doing plan driven development, means our development follows a plan very closely and the plan is detailed. So we want to do a nice plan in the beginning and hope that this plan does not change a lot. But in reality, what happens is plan does change because there are things happening during the project which makes us replan our thing, right? Where there are anticipated issues which can come, there are unanticipated issues that can come. There are a lot of things that can happen, and we need to do. And again, just think about this in a very extreme case. Who did think about this coronavirus coming in this semester? Nobody, right? So once things happen, this was unanticipated. You have to replan our stuff, right? So planning and replanning has to be done from the beginning till the end of the project. Of course, hopefully the lot of planning has been done in the beginning so that you have to do some small changes. But sometimes because of big issues, as we can see right now, you have to do major replannings, right? So imagine all those software projects now. You have to do a big replanning, right? People working from home, how to collaborate, how to resolve issues, how to communicate with the client. It's a big challenge, right? So projects which are going on these days with the coronavirus, right? So again, keep in mind that planning is done throughout. We also spoke about this idea of milestones and deliverables. Anyone who can remind us what was the difference and what were milestones and what were deliverables?
Every deliverable is a milestone.
Yes, every deliverable is a milestone, but not every milestone is a deliverable. But what's a milestone then?
It's when you finish a part of the project.
Yeah, specific points in the specific progress points where we can assess that yeah, we completed something, we achieved a milestone, we achieved some progress, right? Which is measurable. It's not like we did 50%, 40%, which is ambiguous. And milestones are those points where we can clearly say, yeah, we completed this much of task. Oh yeah, we completed requirements. This is a milestone. Or we completed use case diagram is a milestone and stuff like that. What about deliverables? Why is the name deliverable there?
It's because you can provide it to the client.
Yeah, we deliver something to the client, right? So that's why the name is deliverables. So we deliver something to the client. So those milestones at the end, we are producing some artifacts which are delivered to the client. Okay, now let's focus today. Something very important is the idea of how do we do the planning and scheduling, right? So in scheduling, we are speaking about, we said before, in planning and scheduling, planning and scheduling, we said what we have to do is we have to do work breakdown structure. We have to come up with this work breakdown structure, which basically says that divide your work into phases. Of course, how you divide depends on the process you are following. And phases are divided into activities, and activities are divided into tasks. Tasks can be divided into subtasks, but then people still call it tasks, right? So the smallest unit normally the term used is task. Now you keep dividing your work into smaller activities until you reach the level of tasks. And if a task is big, as I said, you might divide it into further tasks. Now, ideally, what is the size of a task? How big is a task? So this is another question. How big is a task? Now, before giving some numbers, I would say that ideally in planning and scheduling, we say task should not be too small, relatively speaking, and not too big. Anyone who can give me some ideas why this would be the case? Why should my task not be too small or too big? Too small could be, for example, a task which is an hour task, a half a day task, 1 day task. This would be considered typically as too small. Even 2 days task or 3 days task typically could be considered as a small task, too small. Too big task is tasks like something around 15 days, 1 month, 2 months, something like weeks or months. So we don't want tasks which are too small or too big. What do you think? Why would be this the reason?
I think the reason behind this is that when the task is too small,
Yeah.
sure, we are achieving, but the progress is very small and barely noticeable. While when it's too big, it's hard, it can be hard to manage. So a balance point makes sure that we move consistently with good progress.
Yeah, which you're right, but let's try to dig a little bit more into it. Let's take this specific example. Let's say I have an original task. This is let's say 30 days task, and I consider it too big. So what I did is I divide it into smaller tasks. Task one, task two, task three. Let's say this is 7 days. This is 8 days. This is I don't know 15 days. Let's say okay, or this is idea one. There's another way. I divide it into very small tasks. Each one, let's say, a day or half a day. Now we are saying this is too big, right? Let's call this is too big, and this is too small. Now at the end of the day, you're doing the same task, same work. At the end of this, let's say 30 days, you're going to achieve the same amount of work, right? You're not doing something different. You're doing exactly the same thing. The only difference is this is you call it as a task at the end of 30 days as a task. This one you subdivided it into 3 tasks. But at the end of the day, the output is same. I'm repeating it. And this one you divide it into multiple tasks, n task, very small task. Now, if you divide it into small tasks, what's going to happen? You are going to what happens in project management is once you finish a task, you report that task that you did it, right? And you move on to the next task as individuals or as teams. Now, if the task is too small, what happens? What happens is you spend a lot of time reporting tasks more than working. So imagine every 1 hour or 2 hours, you have to go back to some project management tool and report that you have done this, or you have to go and speak to your team leader or manager explaining that you have done this task. It would be too much, right? If you have to do this type of reporting every few hours or even every half a day, very quick ones, right? On the other hand, so this is also some sort of too much time spent on reporting than the work itself. What if it's too big? So yeah, let's limit it in the sense that let's make it after 1 month. The problem with too big a task is if it is 1 month and nobody is going to know what you're doing during the month and something happened unexpectedly or you did not finish it or you are delayed or something is a problem. Now it's already too late to resolve it. Even if you not try to resolve it, you lost a big number of days already. You see this thing. So you don't want to do that also. So you don't want it to be too big that it becomes like so difficult to manage it. Like it's already too late. If something happened, it's already too late to do anything. Is this getting clearer? The idea here?
Yes.
So yeah, you wanted something in between. It says typically a task it should be around 5 working days, 7 working days, something around there, right? 8 working days. Again, though there's no magic number, but typically is a few days. A task is few working days, generally speaking. Of course, there are new ideas also in extreme programming and agile that you say, let's make task a day or something like that. But generally speaking, there are few days. Now, of course, that's how we are going to do. So we are going to divide, irrespective of exact number, we are going to divide the task into the work into tasks, right? Now, one of the challenge what we are going to face is to how to estimate task. How do you know that a given task is going to take 5 days or 7 days? This is a big challenge, right? Of course, there are some tools helping it, but a lot of that is still experience, right? So if I say, okay, one of the tasks is to come up with a draft use case diagram. Now, if you have done a lot of use case diagrams and you know the problem or you know the domain of the project you're working in, you might have a fair idea. Okay, you coming up with use case diagram, maybe it will take another 3 days or another 5 days or something. But many a times it's a lot of experience which comes into play. It's difficult, right? Estimating task is difficult. So this is one thing. The another thing is whatever you estimate, right? Right? Whatever you estimate is another point. Whatever you estimate. Now we say once we do task estimation, we estimate it as a scenario where everything is okay. So what you have to do is add a fraction for anticipated change. So what it means is, let's say ideally you estimated a task. Let's say task T1 was estimated to be 5 days. What you should do is maybe, again, it comes with experience and stuff, and depending on what type of task it is, how challenging it is, or how difficult you perceive it is, you may say, okay, it is estimated 5 days. Now I am putting it as 7 days. Why I'm adding this 7 days, 2 extra days? Because we know there can be some things which might go wrong or some delays can happen. So we are looking for anticipated issues, right? For anticipated issues, let's not call it changes, anticipated issues, to deal with some issues which are anticipated. Some might get sick, something might happen, the hardware might come late and stuff like that. So we add few days, a fraction for anticipated changes. Then it says, after doing that, add a fraction more for unanticipated issues. And this is very important. So this was 5 days. Originally, you estimated it to be 5 days. Means ideally, if everything is okay, it takes 5 days. Then you said, okay, let me add 2 more days because something can happen. Some things are possible for delays. But then after the 7, I added 1 extra day. I made it 8 days because now I added 1 extra day for something unexpected to happen, which I never thought about, right? So originally, ideally 5-day task and ended up with being an 8 days task. This is very important to keep in mind, right? So assuming now this is a work breakdown. Work breakdown means dividing the work into tasks. Now comes the next question is scheduling the task. What is scheduling the task? Scheduling the task means assigning tasks to calendar days with ideally also assigning, or let me put it in the new line, assigning people and also assigning resources. So again, you said a task is 8 days. Now, when does it start? It starts on, for example, 28th of April, and it finishes, of course, based on 8 days, and adding the weekends in between, it might finish it after, for example, 10 days, right? Because that weekend in between, for example. So this is what is assigning the calendar date. Ideally, you also assign the people and the resources this task need, right? So that things are in place. Now let's think about this thing in the scheduling. Now, assuming that you have these tasks, for simplicity, you have one of the tasks is T1. Okay, let's say T1 is, let's say 7 days. You have, or let me even put it inside. So you have one task, which is 7 days. Another task is, let's say 5 days. This is 9 days. This is 3 days. There are 4 tasks, let's assume. Okay. Now, if there are these 4 tasks, right, and there are no constraints, think about this, no constraints. What do you think will be a project duration? When can you, how many days do you need for finishing your project?
A bit more of the sum of all the components.
Again, I'm saying there are no constraints in a sense that task can start. You can assign tasks to people. There are no issues of resources. Tasks can start together, stuff like that.
Yeah, but even though
Again,
we
theoretically,
finished
let's
it,
speak about theoretically. So if let's
11
say
days
why 11 specifically?
to give the 9 days tasks a
Yeah, so
little bit more.
no, we already gave it. This 9-day task was actually, let's say, a 6 days task, but because of adding and all of that, it's 9 days task. So what we are saying is, if there are no constraints, ideally speaking, right? What will we do? We assign all those tasks in parallel. There are people ready to work in the task. We have resources. So the task, the whole project duration is going to be 9 days, right? Again, no complications. Very simple idea. You start everything. Your duration of the project is the duration which is the largest, the biggest task, right? Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Now the question is, why can't we do this in a real project? Why can't we do something like this in a real project? Because first of all, the tasks are not completely independent. You, for example, let's say this 9-day task, again, just for simplicity, assuming this is design. Can you start designing and you did not even have anything in requirements? You cannot start in the day one design because design depends on some requirements. So the point is, yeah, we cannot start everything together because one of the reason is that tasks are. So let me put it down here. Reasons why you can't start all tasks together. One of the reason is task dependency. That one task might be dependent on other. So how you're going to do test if your code is not ready? Let's say this is implementation or this is testing. It depends on different tasks, right? So task dependency is there. What other reasons you think apart from task dependency, which forces us not to be starting a task before other tasks? Other factors.
Lack of people working.
Lack of people, right? So maybe ideally I could have started, let's say this task. Let's assume for simplicity, I could have started this task and this task together. But the people who are working in this task are the same people who are going to work in this task. So I cannot start these two tasks together because the people working, I don't have enough people, extra people. So limitations of people. What else could be natural reasons? Limitations of resources, right? Maybe this task need a hardware and that hardware is used by other tasks, people working on other tasks. I don't have it extra. So resource limitation, people limitation, and of course, task dependencies. So these are some examples, right? So we are speaking about people constraints. We are speaking about resource constraint. So what ideally will happen is, right? You will have a task, and let's say this is task 1. You started, let's assume here, 7 days, and you know task 2 is dependent on 7. So what will you do? You start to task 2 after 7, and there might be a link here. And task 3 is also dependent on task 1, let's say. So you're also having, but it's not independent, it is not dependent on 2. So you will also have a link like that. And let's say task 3 is dependent on task 2. So you'll have, oh, I'm sorry, task 4. So this is task 1, this is task 2, this is task 3, and this is task 4. And then you say, okay, task 4 is dependent on 2. So this is like this. So this is your task 4, which is 3 days. This is task 2, task 3, task 4, right? So these are the reasons. And again, this is just dependency, and same thing can also apply because of people working and resource limitations. Now, if you do something like this, now the question is, what's the project duration in this scenario? By the way, a tool which somehow organizes this task in this way is called a Gantt chart. This is called a Gantt chart. Now, in a Gantt chart like this, how can you know the duration of the project now? What's the new duration of the project?
16 days.
7 plus 9, exactly. So it's basically, if you see, is going to be 16. 16 days. You can find it out, right? Looking at those chains. But then to do this, Gantt chart might be a bit difficult. So we have another approach we can do is the idea called activity network. Okay, let me share some examples with you for that. So let's assume so again, I'm going to introduce here what we call activity network. Okay, what's an activity network? Let's look at this. Let's assume so these are our tasks. Okay, it says again you have tasks, 12 tasks. One task is 15 days duration, person days. Okay, duration it takes 10 days. Now this is a bit tricky here. You don't have to focus on this right now. Is there's something called person days and there's something called days. You will see that they are, for example, in the task one, you can say it says 15% days, but duration is 10 days. What does it mean here? It means that if one person work in this task one, is going to take 15 days, but actually the task is going to take 10 days because there's not only one person working, there are many persons, right? So it might be less than that. This is clear. Similarly, there's another one, task 2, which is 8 days, but it says the duration is 15 days because maybe 8% days if people work at a stretch, but it's taking 15 days because you're not working full time in that task. So it's taking 15 days. Is this clear what it means here? Similarly, task 3 here, it says that it's 20% days, but duration is 15 days. And here it says task 3 is dependent on task 1. So it cannot start before task 1 ending. And it's also is after milestone 1. Similarly, task 4 is 5 days, duration in 10 days. So keep that into perspective and let's see a resultant Gantt chart here. So this is the Gantt chart here. Okay. You see here? So this is how you're going to put it as a Gantt chart. So if you can see here, just look at this. Task 3 is after task 1. Why? Because it is dependent on task 1 and also it's a milestone 1 here. So this solid diamond, the black one is the milestone. So it says task 3 is after the milestone 1 and finishing off task 1. Similarly, let's look at anything. Task 7. Task 7 is also after task 1 and milestone 1. What about task 6? Task 6 is after task 1 and task 2. So if you see, task 6 starts after the end of task 1 and task 2. You see this? Anyone who could not understand this Gantt chart here? So make it clear, this is a Gantt chart. Is this clear how we interpret a Gantt chart? Any question on this?
Can you repeat what are the M's?
What are they?
The M3 and
M's are the
M4.
milestones. It's just telling, yeah, it's not very important for calculating the duration days, but M means there's a milestone there. M's are milestones and T's are tasks. Okay, so you're saying T3, M1, T1. So it's a milestone M1 and task T1. After this, you start T3. So you start T3 after milestone 1 and task T1. Okay, is this making sense? Can you correlate this table with this Gantt chart? Is this making sense or no? Let me know. So for example, again, let's look at task 11. It's dependent on T9 and M7, means it cannot start before the milestone 7 and finishing our task 9. So let's look at this. Task 11, where is task 9 ending? Task 9 is ending here. So task 11 is starting only after this and the milestone 7. So it cannot start before that. So again, let me know, is this clear or you have questions? Anyone? Now, if I ask you, looking at the Gantt chart, tell me the project duration. Is it easy or difficult? Kind of not that straightforward, right? Of course, you can do it looking at all these paths, but it might not be that straightforward, right? There's another one, another representation of activities, which is the activity network. Let's see this one. For the same example, okay, this is our activity network. Okay. Again, it also does not look that simple because there are many tasks and many dependencies. But here, let's see what is it. It says start. Let's say there's a scheduled calendar day where you start. You say task 1 takes 8 days. Task 3 finishes after milestone 1 and task 1. So it's connected like this. For example, let's look at task 6. What is task 6 saying? Task 6 is done after milestone 3 and finishing off 1 and 2. You see here? Finishing off 1 and 2 and finishing milestone 3 is task 6. If you look at back, task 6 after T1 and T2 and M4. I'm sorry, this should have been M4, it seems. Right? Okay. So yeah, after T2 and T1 and T2, you have the milestone 3 and the task 6 is itself a milestone M4. But the point is it is dependent on T1 and T2 and so forth. You do this, you connect all the tasks till you reach at the end. This is the finish. Now, if you finish it, now the question is how you understand what is the project duration. You have to look at all the unique paths going from start to end. And all the paths, the longest path is your project duration. The longest path is your project duration. Now, of course, you don't have to do this manually. There are tools which can directly automate it and do it for you. But let's try to do one manually to make sure that we understand how things are going to work, right? So let's look at this. Let's look at this smaller example, which we can hopefully do it manually. So let's look at this. Okay. And let's try to come up with a activity network. So I need your feedback here. So what are we going to do to start with an activity network? Let's say we are going to make an activity network. So the first thing what we are going to do, who's going to tell me? We are going to start with a node called. Yes, please.
Start.
Start, right. So we say, OK, there's a node called start. Now, what do we see? T1, is it dependent on anyone? Is there any dependency for T1?
No.
No. So we can directly connect it to start. So we say this is T1 and it is 7 days. We write 7, right? And we write an arrow. So we go from task start to T1. Think about T2. Its duration is 8 days and dependency is T1. What are we going to do? Because it's dependent on T1, we are going to connect after T1. So we say T2 is another task which is after T1 and it takes 8 days. Same, think about task T3. What's going to happen for T3?
Connect it to start.
Connect to start, right. So because it has no dependencies, assuming we have people and resources, we are going to connect directly to the start. It means it starts directly once the project starts. Its duration is 14 days. What about T4? What are we going to do?
Connect it to T2.
T2, exactly. So we have this one. We say T4 and how many days? Another 8 days. What about T5, I'm sorry.
To T2 and T3.
T2 and T3. So what we are going to do is we are going to connect like this an arrow and these 2 arrows and put here T5, which is nothing but 6 days. I'm sorry. Okay. What about T6?
To T1.
T1 again. I hope we have enough space here. So we have T6, which is another 10 days. And finally T7, which is dependent on
T5.
T5. So we are going to say T5, arrow going out, T7. Now, is there anything else remaining? No. So we have to have somewhere
Finish.
finish. And what are we going to connect to finish? All those nodes which have no outgoing arcs. Finish, finish, finish. Are we missing anything else? That's it, right?
No. Yeah.
Good. Now look at this. And now what we are going to do is we are going to look at, and the question would be, again, I'm sorry, I missed that. T7 is 7 days, right? Yeah. So the question would be, what is the pure project duration? We say the project duration is, we look at all the different paths from start to end, and we find the path which is the minimum days or the maximum days. It's going to be the maximum days, right? Because you cannot finish your project before that path finishes. So let's try to list down all the unique paths. So we say there's one called path 1, which is what? Which is path 1. Let's say T1 to T6
To finish.
to finish. So again, I'll say S, T1, T2, F. There's a path. So, and what's the duration of this path?
17 days.
7 plus 10 equals to 17 days. Another one, path 2. What is path 2? T1,
T2,
T2,
T4,
T4, and finish. Again, what's the duration? 7 plus 8 plus 8 is 23, right?
Yes.
23 days.
Path 3.
Yeah, now we come to path 3.
T1,
Start, T1,
T2,
T2,
T5, T7,
T7, and finish. And this is nothing but 7 plus 8 plus 6 plus 7, which is nothing but 15, 21, 28 days.
Path 4.
Yeah, we have another one, path 4.
T3.
Start, T3, T5,
T7,
T7, and
finish.
finish. And this is nothing but 14 plus 6 plus 7 equals to 27 days. Is there any other unique path we are missing out? I guess no, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different paths. Of course, in a tool, the tool does for you, but we have to know manually how to make sense of it. Now, this is my thing. Now, the question is based on this. What is my project duration?
28 days.
Exactly. So the project duration is going, it's no way going to take less than 28 days, because the project duration is the path which is the longest path. And what this is my project duration. And what is project duration? Is the least amount of days needed to finish the project, right? Is this clear? And all the task which comes in this is called the critical path. So what is my critical path? My critical path are S1, T1, T2, T5, T7. S1, so this is the red one is my critical path. Let me write it down. So this is critical path. Is this clear? So this is my critical path. The question is why we call this as critical path. We call it critical because it's something important from project management perspective. Why it's important is if any tasks gets delayed in this critical path, what's going to happen?
The duration of the project will extend.
The project duration will extend, but any task which gets delayed in a non-critical path, you still might have some buffer. Any task which is not part of the critical path, the tasks in the critical path, you might have some extra room for delay. For example, think about it. What will happen if task 6, instead of 10 days, you took 15 days? What will happen? Will your project duration change? Question is, so let me put a question. What if, okay, T6, instead of taking 10 days, I'm sorry, somehow, instead of taking 10 days, now it's taking 15 days. What will happen? Does this change my critical path? What do you think?
No.
No. Why? Because T6 is, let's see, where is T6? In which paths are T6 there? T6 is there. T6 is not there, T6 is not there. So if you add this 5 days to the critical part, this part, T6, this 17 becomes how much? 22. So if it is not in the critical path and adding it does not extend beyond the critical path days, is not going to happen anything. So in a sense, if you want to have any leniency, you may say, okay, task 6 me can delay it, because if you want to give resources, let's say right now you're competing for resource between task 5 and task 6. What will you do normally? Or you have limited people to work. Someone is sick, and this same person was supposed to work in task 6. But if he works, someone else works in task 6, your task 5 might be delayed. So if let's say for some reason you have a choice between allocating resource or people for task 5 or task 6, what are you going to do? Because task 5 is part of the critical path, you're going to allocate it to task 5 because you don't want to delay task 5. Task 5 is part of critical path. You make sure it's not delayed. But task 6, you have some buffer days where you can live with without affecting your overall project schedule. But of course, what if some task becomes more delayed so that it becomes it leads to the overall delay in the project? For example, let's think about this. Okay, what will happen if task 3, okay, what happens if task 3 gets delayed from original 14 days to 17 days? What will happen in this case if task 3 becomes 17 days?
Task 5 might need to be delayed.
No, if task 3 takes more, so you see, where is task 3? Task 3 is only coming here, right?
Yes.
Now, if task 3 becomes from 14 to 17, how many days you're adding to it?
3.
Yes. So if you're adding these 3 days, so what is going to do is, because there are now two effects happening because of this. One thing is this 27 days becomes
30.
30 days. At the same time, because task 5 is dependent on task 3, it's going to also affect
Critical path.
Yeah, no, it's not going to affect the critical path beyond this thing. What I'm trying to say is this. Now, what happens is this: task 1 and 2. You see, how do you start task 5? You start after finishing task 1 and 2 and 3. How much 1 and 2 is going to take? 15 days. Right? And task 3 now, if it's going to take the 17 days, which is more than that, what is it trying to tell you? It's trying to tell you that your critical path now becomes, this becomes your new critical path. So your critical path changes. It changes from original of this to this new critical path. Why? Because originally your project path was the whole project schedule or critical path was 28 days, but now because task 3 became 17 days, this became your new critical path, because 30 days is more than 28 days. So what we are saying is, yeah, the tasks which are not in the critical path, you can delay it up till certain extent until the delay does not lead to the whole path being more than the critical path. If the delay becomes more than the critical path, then this path now becomes the new critical path. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Right? So we saw this example where T1 and T6, we added few days to T6, but it did not make any change because in the critical path, because adding 5 days this did not add. So this became from 2017 to 22. It did not exceed the critical path days. But adding something which is not in the critical path, which leads to the final days higher than critical path, this becomes your new critical path. So your critical path can change. So yeah, this is how we understand. Any question on this? So what you should know at this stage is, given this type of project estimations, task estimation and dependencies, you should be able to create an activity network. From activity networks, you should be able to see all the different paths, unique paths, and what is the duration of each path. And based on that duration, you need to come up with the critical path. Once you have these details, you should be able to answer what happens if certain task gets delayed or not delayed, right? So the question would be, if a very quick question, if I delay task 5, is it going to affect my project duration? In the original scenario, without delaying anything in T3 or, for example, T6. In the original scenario, if I delay T5, is it going to affect my project duration?
Yes.
Yes.
It is, right? Because it's directly in the critical path. The question is, if I'm going to delay task T3, is it going to affect my project duration? The answer is
No.
it depends how much T3 is going to be
Delayed.
Yeah.
delayed. Now, what is the buffer in the current situation without any delay? How much can you delay T3 without affecting your project duration? What would be
1
your
day.
answer? Only 1 day, because 27 is only one less than the critical day. How much can you delay your task T6 without affecting your project duration? How much can you delay your task T6 without affecting your project duration?
11.
70 and 28, 11 days, exactly.
11.
And these are the things you can answer once you have this type of network ready, and which is quite useful, right, for project managers to see, to prioritize tasks, to see if you have competing resources, competing people to work, limited people to work, what should be your priority. So this helps there, right, to understand those type of questions. How much can you delay a task? What happens if this task gets delayed and stuff like that? Let me know if there's any question, or is it clear to all of you? If you have question, let me know. Okay, if there's no question, one last thing I will stop for today is this idea of the project planning process. Again, it's not a perfect diagram, but just as an idea, let's look at it. It's an activity diagram, which you're going to learn as a UML diagram, but let's try to understand here. So what do? This is an activity diagram, which explains what should be the process of project planning. Okay. It's an activity diagram, which is part of UML, right? UML diagram. This is called, the solid circle is called start, and this bull eye is called finish or end. Okay. Now there is this thing which is a bar here, which says that you can do these three things together. You can do these three things together. What do you want to do? You want to identify constraints. What are the resource constraints, people constraints, other constraints? You want to identify the risk, and you want to define milestones and deliverables. These are the three things you do initially once you start. Once you do this, based on that, you define your project schedule. Again, you might use a help of a project planner, right? Like Microsoft Project or other tools. So you define project schedule. So you make Gantt charts, you make activity networks and stuff like that. Once you have this plan ready, what do? You do the work and monitor the progress. Do the work, monitor the progress against the plan. Now monitoring progress, right, is dependent on your tasks and your milestones, and of course the deliverables. So monitoring your progress is dependent on your task. So you enter, once you finish a task, you update as a software engineer, you update once you finish a task. And also once there are milestones, things are updated so that this milestone is over. And of course you're doing work and there's monitoring going on through project management, right? Now, while you are not finished, there's a decision here. Did you finish or no? If you finish your project, you end. If you did not finish, you go back, you're still doing the work. If you have minor problems and slippage, if you have issues going on, what do? You update your schedule. So task 6 was supposed to take 10 days, it took 12 days, you update it, right? So whatever is going to happen, you're going to, if you have minor problems and slippages, you update your schedule, and if there is a need of readjusting something, you do some small readjustments. If there are serious issues, right, then what do? You initiate risk mitigation, which is the next topic we are going to see risk management, and you might have to do some replanning of the project if you have serious issues happening. Okay, so a good example again for us would be something like coronavirus thing. it's a serious problem, you have to now see what to do, and you have to do a lot of replanning. But if some small things happening, right? Maybe a hardware got delivered a week late, someone got sick for a week, something happened, you just have to redefine, you have to readjust your schedule, minor changes. And you keep doing this until you finish the project, and that's the end. So this is basically your project planning process. So is there any question on this? If you have, let me know. Anyone has any question here?
Is this applicable for all projects?
In general, it's a very general idea. So generally we speak about, for example, for us the context is software engineering projects. So we say, how are we going to come? Let's think about it. First of all, you want to come up with a schedule for the project before you start the project, right? When are we going to start each task? Who is going to work? What resources are needed? To come up with the schedule, you want to identify the constraints, you want to identify the risks, and want to define what are the milestones and deliverables. So naturally, you cannot come up with a schedule before doing that. Once you have the schedule, you do the work, which is again a natural thing. And while you're doing the work, your progress is monitored by you entering your details, you're updating what you're doing, how much is done, and project management looking at things. You keep doing it. If there are small issues going on, the management has to update the schedule with your consultation as the development team. If serious issues are there, you have to replan the project. You keep doing it until you finish the project. So it's very natural, right? It's applicable for most of the project, how you do it.